Hello there and welcome to the bedroom of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Hugh Stelfers for April 4th, the day of initiative. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of initiative. We have what appears to be an ear of corn with a bridge on the top of it. All right. Now, does that speak to the day of initiative? Hey, who's to say? Oftentimes these images are rather enigmatic, but on occasion we can kind of make an association for why they chose that image, ostensibly. In the event, not altogether all too important, not when it's April 4th and it's somebody's birthday. That's right. So if your birthday is April 4th and it's your birthday today, I just want to say happy birthday, all right? That's what's important around these here parts. That said, if the day is long past and you're finding this video late, I hope you had a happy birthday. But for everybody else who's joining us randomly or more ideally to celebrate the day, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that is roll some dice. That's right. This is the Diecast birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake. But if you've been here before and you know what this is all about, hey, just skip ahead in the chapters, all right? Because I'll just be here rolling some dice. All right, here we go. We got us, what's this, folks? Doubles. 5 and a 5 for a 10. Synchronistically speaking, I don't know if that's a word, but we would want us a 4 because it's April 4, right? But hey, we got us a 10. Now, what does that mean? Synchronicity? Well, as I hear tell, the universe oftentimes put things in our path to help us realize our goals or kind of motivate us towards our aspirations. But hey, a lot of times we're very narrow of focus or kind of myopic. We're not necessarily seeing those things for what they are. And so this is just a little bit of a mutually agreed upon, sign, if you like, to help us identify the things the universe is putting in our path, or the higher powers that be, if you like. What kind of sign is that? That's right, your daily numbers. All right, now you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled for you. The intention is there, but it's probably ideal if you want to try this out. Get yourself your own set of dice so you can ascribe directional values to number sets and time limits with which to go in those directions. Because the whole idea here is to pick out a spot that, sorry for the whistle there, folks, pick out a spot that's maybe near and dear to your heart or someplace you've never been before, and then try this out. All right, you roll yourself your daily number, and then what do? Well, you set off with that directional value you've got in store for the numbers, and then a time limit with which to go in that direction. And then along the way, you want to stay eagle-eyed for things, all right? Take things in for what you might see, because you might start to see the day develop a little bit of a theme. Let's take the bridges and the corn cobs, for instance, all right? Maybe notice at the end of your time limit, hey, you're stopped on a bridge. Coincidence, you might say. Hey, maybe you roll the dice again, take your time limit, your directional value. Maybe you're on a bridge once again, all right? Take note of such things, all right? Maybe it's not just coincidence. Who's to say? Maybe you do it again, and by the time you end up on this other bridge, there's somebody eating some corn, all right? Hey, now that's just the visual representational image. It can be just about anything. Maybe you keep seeing stickers of a certain image. Who's to say? Or somebody's got a handbag with that image on it, passes by your path. I don't know, but those are things to look out for. The whole idea here is just to get an idea that the universe is with you on your path, and it's directing you to see these things. Feel a little bit of the magic, all right? That's the idea, and I can't hope for anything else for you on your birthday, that you feel a little bit of that magic, because when and if you see it, you're going to think it is, all right? So get out there, explore the world, maybe test the waters with a little bit synchronicity. All right, think you get the idea? Let's dive in with the birthday reading. That's why you're here. Your month is April, your day is the 4th, your sign is 13 to 15 degrees Aries of the Aries II period specifically, and your quality and element is Cardinal fire. Well, all right, April 4th, the day of initiative. Those born on April 4 have the initiative needed to bring their very unusual personalities to the forefront. And perhaps they must have this quality, for the odds are often against them. This may be because of reactions to their peculiarities, or because they themselves are their own worst enemy. Whatever the case, they have to fight for what they want, and the problem is that they may take quite a long time to find out just who they are and what it is they seek. Therefore, perseverance is another quality which is important for their success. And those born on this day must not only initiate projects, but demonstrate the ability to see them through to a successful conclusion. In general, their successes or failures in life will be judged by their capacity to manifest these steadfast qualities. Of course, they will also need to keep a handle on their tendency to get involved in new endeavors, since there is a limit to what they can do. The April 4 people can be headed entirely in the wrong direction, but in a moment of realization, find the courage and the determination to change course, chart a new plan of action, and continue on. And those born on this day can be extremely stubborn in their endeavors, and one would do well not to oppose them without completely understanding what it is they are attempting to do. And this may require some patience on the part of mates or partners. And it is not only acceptance that April 4 people are after, but eminence in their field. And this does not mean they seek worship or adulation so much as a position of prominence in whatever they are involved in. It is downright harmful to deprive them of their inborn need to initiate and often to innovate. April 4 people make fine executives and function well with others implementing their ideas. And they may choose to exert their principal efforts as leaders within a family or other social groups. And to work for those born on April 4 is very demanding, but also satisfying. That since they make clear what is expected and equally clear their evaluation of what has been done. They may be impatient, however, finding it painful to repeat themselves and insisting that they be understood the first time around. Ultimately, many April 4 people may find it most rewarding to work on their own as self-employed professionals. It should be emphasized that April 4 people cannot be well directed until they discover their purpose in life. Should they go off on the wrong track as they approach middle age and not realize it, they must be informed of this by someone very close to them, whom they trust implicitly. Thus, having a marriage partner or intimate capable of serious objective advice now and then is essential. If foolish enough to surround themselves with a bevy of admirers or flatterers, April 4 people will harm themselves, and a firm hold on reality is the basis for their happiness. Well, all right, pretty interesting birthday reading, I would say. A lot of the Aries breakdowns have been very hyper-focused on certain characteristics and not really expanding out past much of that outside of one or two little idiosyncrasies that kind of define them as individuals. That said, I like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we just read, hopefully inject my thoughts on the matter, and maybe drill down on more particulars of the period, the month, the things in the book that kind of run abreast of such things. So let's dive into it and see what I had to say on the matter. April 4th, the day of initiative. You're said to have initiative required to bring your unique personality out into the world. And the reading posits such an ability may in fact be necessary, as the odds are purportedly often against you, either because of your particular peculiarities, or because you're your own worst enemy. So watch out for that. Be mindful. You add in time, the reading claims it may take you to drill down on not just what you want to do with your life, but also who you are. The wherewithal to tolerate that time and keep applying yourself is claimed to be very important for you, as you'll apparently be judged by your ability to follow through on your endeavors, all of which may seem rather common sense, but as it turns out, while a good deal of other people born in this Aries period so far, they're claimed to also possess such kinds of perseverance. Few, if any, by my memory, are said to be judged by their ability to succeed to this end. So that may just apply to you. Who's to say? The universe deems it so, or whatever the particular dynamic is. So pretty interesting. All this to say, I would say it's good to understand that you may be held to a different standard than other people. Now you know where to invest your time, if you like, all right? Because it sounds as though you have none of it to waste on losing prospects, which I'd say would allow you to avoid this propensity to have to change course, all right? It makes me think of cultivating the courage to chase your dreams now, all right, instead of putting it off until later. That said, you're purported to be stubborn, so one would do well not to oppose you without complete understanding. So by all means, feel free to leave my ideas right in the trash, all right? But continuing on, acceptance and eminence in your field are said to fuel you, which is a little different than other Aries, as they don't tend to care so much about acceptance. But you have an innate need to innovate, and you make fine executives, apparently, because you're clear with your directives and your evaluations. And that sets you apart from other Aries individuals also. But being better at flying solo, that's a very common aspect for the Aries folks. A lot of times they find their particular niche and then they just flourish in it, regardless of the benefits or the rewards of as much. For you, I'd say a little different, though that may apply to you just as much. Who's to say? All told, find that special someone who can let you know when you're off track, all right? Because time is precious. And hopefully that speaks to you. Maybe you find yourself in a rut. Man, I can't figure out what I want to do with my life. Or this feels good. I'm making a lot of money doing things, but I'm just not happy, fulfilled. And maybe this is the time to start doing the work to figure that out, all right? That said, that's all I had to say about the birthday breakdown. So let's move on to your numbers and your planets. All right, let me adjust the book here a little bit so I can stay in frame. There we go. Those born on the 4th day of the month are ruled by the number 4 and by the planet Uranus, or Uranus, depending upon how you like to say it. People ruled by the number 4 have their own peculiar way of doing things. And Uranus indicates sudden changeability and unpredictable action. All right. The influence of Mars, the ruler of Aries, can make these sudden actions aggressive and violent. And because April 4 people are blessed with great initiative, again underlined by Mars's influence, the danger added by the qualities of the number 4 is considerable. And since the number 4 can also mean rebelliousness, a concern for April 4 people may be that they will live their lives reactively rather than exercising their talent for initiating. All right. Highly personalized numbers and planets. Sometimes it's just kind of a rote retelling of what the planets mean or the numbers and the like. So they personalized it for you a little bit. That's nice, but let's get into what I had to say. Maybe give a little more detail on such things. The number 4 in the planet Uranus for your own peculiar way of doing things. Changeability and unpredictable action. For me, I'm a number 4. It was erratic. So rebelliousness a little bit, I don't know. But erratic for sure. Esoteric as well. Eccentric maybe. Anyway, that's me. Get back to you. Maybe some of that applies. As you say, they can't put it all in the entry. Rebelliousness, impulse, idiosyncratic, being explosive and erratic are also all Uranus hallmarks, as I said. And with Mars and its god of warlike energy and aggression, the more dangerous aspects of Uranus may be heightened for you, apparently. So watch out for and or mind the potential reality for as much, and be able to maybe head it off at the pass or realize when it's creeping up, all right? I particularly like this concern to mind living reactively and instead lean in on your talent for initiating, all right? It's like an offensive posture where you'll be posed for the defense, all right? And the book doesn't often relate such insights either. So I find it interesting that there were a few details in there that informed the breakdown, like changeability. which is also interesting considering Uranus shakes up and it electrifies the dynamics of the planet that it's said to co-rule with. So maybe it's doing its thing with you in there, making you a lot different from the other Aries folks. Who's to say? I don't know. That said, that's what I had to say about your numbers and your planets. Let's move on to your tarot. That's right. One of the more eclectic, New Age philosophies or ideologies. But hey, it's here in the book. We don't necessarily have to take it home on this and start dealing cards out and letting it dictate our life's choices. We can just see what it has to say, leave it in the book. So let's see what it has to say. Sometimes it lines up with things, interestingly enough. Here we go. The fourth card of the major arcana is the Emperor, who rules over concrete and worldly things through wisdom, the primary source of his power. The Emperor is stable and profound, and the force of his authority cannot be questioned. And the positive associations of this card are strong willpower and steadfast energy. Unfavorable qualities include willfulness, tyranny, and brutality. And for those born on April 4, the Emperor's steadiness and determination can serve as a useful metaphor. There you go. Just use it as a metaphor, all right? But beware the brutality if you're in that executive position, all right? That Mars energy coming in to dictate things. All right, what I had to say about the tarot here. The Emperor for ruling over concrete, worldly matters through wisdom, or the knowledge you derive from your own experiences. Putting in the time spent striving after your endeavors ostensibly. Stability and profound insight, I'd say, were also showcased in the breakdown. And if you have the wherewithal to hang in and the courage to change. So positives of willpower and steadfast energy, as mentioned, but unfavorable qualities of tyranny, brutality, and willfulness, or being prone to disobedience, I wrote. So the rebel, if you like, a little bit of that Uranus energy coming in with the heightened god of war powers of Mars, which one could argue may have been seen in your capacity as a boss, but the birthday breakdown said it works for you, surprisingly. Just know when to recognize you're going a little bit too far, I would say, rather than react about it, all right? So that said, I would say it's a rather apt card in those respects. Sometimes these things don't necessarily seem to line up. Like I said, it serves as a metaphor, but I would say it informed the breakdown just a little bit. It doesn't often do that. Sometimes it's just an example, as I said. But that being said, that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. All right. The greatest danger of the health of April 4 people lies in their impulsiveness. It is at those moments when they decide to change direction, literally or figuratively, when they are at the greatest risk. They should be constantly on the lookout for potential accidents, both as pedestrians and motorists. Interesting. Moreover, they should avoid any occupations, environments, or substances that make them nervous. Homeopathic remedies, whether salts or herbs, may be the safest relaxants. Also, baths with essential oils, massage, and chiropractic manipulation, particularly of the skull and the upper vertebra, can be helpful in returning the body to a proper balance. April 4 people are encouraged to take an interest in eating a highly varied and balanced diet. All right. This was a pretty complete health entry, if I do say so myself. Sometimes, and recently, they haven't been putting in all the things they usually do. That said, let's get into it here. Your health. Impulsiveness said to be the greatest danger to your health. Accidents may ensue, which came up more than a few times in this period here, or at least the last period, rather. Caution with car accidents specifically. But for Aries, that hasn't been popping up too much. So it's kind of weird that it comes up with this one. Maybe it's Uranus going into it. Well, interestingly enough, it's usually a Mercury thing, because those folks are always driving forward at things, taking risks, adventuring out, speed of action kind of thing, a lot of broken bones and the like. So kind of weird it's coming up here for you. But from what I've heard, Gary Goldschneider interviewed a bunch of people for each birthday, and those things tended more often than not to correspond, so they write it down and put it into the entry. So who's to say? Maybe the universe just shakes out that way for you. That said, losing my place here. Impulse versus instinct is also a common evaluation here in the book writ large, to say emotion versus survival traits. Avoiding instances that test the nerves and propagate stress, also fairly common, that arises for the Aries folks. So be mindful of the stresses. Relaxing remedies. There's a second mention of that in so many days. But this is a first mention of chiropractic, interestingly. And that's surprising because the Aries body areas are the head, brain, and the spine. So it makes a lot of sense that this should be coming up more often. But I think it's the first mention for you. No specific diet mentioned outside of a balanced one. What else did they say? Varied as well. Mars tended to get a lot of meat and the like. Uranus, I can't quite remember. But that said, you got that earthy Mars power, so you can kind of do what you like, feel like. So I assume that would be the varied. But they're trying to have you have a little bit of conservativeness, hence the varied, or balanced rather. That said, what else I have to say here? No exercise recommendations mentioned either. And for Mars folks, a lot of times it was strenuous or vigorous that they could do, ostensibly to excise that god of warlike energy. But in so many days, been getting a little bit of that to be curtailed. I don't recommend going too hot and heavy with such things. Don't know why. Aries is kind of a anomaly. A lot of times it's just shaking things up. Though I would say with the Aries II period coming into rotation here, things have kind of started to get back onto the normal even keel. Let's just say maybe that little bit of shakeup is still in the mix. I don't know. Like I said, it's been an anomaly for some reason. That said, hey, that's been your health. Looks like I reached the end of it there. That said, that's been your health. Let's move on to some advice, as if you haven't gotten enough of that already. Here we go. Learn the value of contemplation as well as silence. Become better team player and discover ways to share more with others. Try and hold back. Don't give everything away. Cultivate depth and a sense of mystery. And keep a handle on any violent, impulsive instincts. All right. Interesting advice. I don't know that I saw a lot of that creep up in the breakdown itself. So why are they giving that to you? I was gonna say, but maybe it speaks to you. What did I have to write here? They said, learn the value of silence and contemplation, ostensibly in measuring your efforts and your where and what you decide to dedicate yourself toward. Become a better team player, they said, and find ways to share with others. Many Aries folks are isolated individuals. They close themselves off, and hence they're often misunderstood. They only really come out of their shell when they're doing their particular field of choice, if you like. That seems to be a writ large through theme for them. So lower the walls if that applies to you, all right? Show your human side, maybe gain outside perspective into your concerns and cultivate relationships in the bargain with as much, all right? Also, you're going to gain a little bit of wisdom if you're taking things from other folks, all right? Especially with earthly matters, all right? You are in the Mars aspect, so that's kind of baked in, but Uranus kind of takes you outside there, so you might come off a little bit eccentric for other folks, all right? So try to break the walls down, even if you're the one kind of putting them up without even realizing it. I speak from experience, all right? So they said try and hold back and don't give everything away. Cultivate depth and mystery. Don't share too much, all right? Guilty is charged here. Share so much, people just get worn out too quick, too easy. Depth and mystery are huge, okay? But I didn't pick up where that necessarily applies to you myself. But hey, maybe just a number 4 kind of thing. I don't know. Certainly yesterday it popped up, though, with their oversharing. So interesting in that respect. Maybe it's a little bit of a carryover. But I would say it's good advice in general, whichever way you swing it, all right? You're probably already do naturally based on the breakdown. Keep a handle on violent and impulsive instincts. I didn't pick up on much of that in the breakdown, but it probably propagated a little bit with Mars in there. It seems to kind of shake out in that respect. There it is with the impulse and the instinct that I kind of mentioned, and then they finally kind of swung it in there. Though they combined the two for whatever reason, a little bit confusing there. They said impulsive instincts. A lot of times there's a demarcation between the two, and we try to relate which one has more value. All right, go with your instincts, not your impulse. So how do you divide them when they mash them together like that? I don't know. In any event, gain power over, separate the two, know how to identify them. Especially with Mars's aggressiveness, hot off the handle, if you like, making knee-jerk reactions. I know for myself, when I make them, I take note immediately after. I'm like, man, why did I make that knee-jerk reaction? I should have identified that before I did it. So I think that's kind of the what they're getting after here. So learn to see the indications, head them off at the pass, and I would say learning about yourself, knowing your self-nature, huge through line for the book, though they haven't really brought it about here in so many days. Cultivating self-awareness, that's what they called it. Always good. But even though it's not mentioned for you, I would say try to apply it regardless. That said, that's been your advice. I rambled on there a little bit. Apologies. But let's move on to your meditation. That's right. It's your birthday. You get a meditation. Here we go. To remain still may be humanity's greatest challenge. All right, here we go. Once again, to remain still may be humanity's greatest challenge. All right. Hey, they brought it in from the advice a little bit. That said, what do I make of the meditation? I don't really know, all right? But even said, if I did have some kind of perspective on it, I wouldn't tell you, all right? Your birthday, your meditation. Defeat the purpose if I interpreted it for you, all right? But your meditation in the bag, as it were, let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. All right, here we go. Your strengths, you're innovative, you're lively, and you're ambitious. Oh, but your weaknesses. Oh, let's see where you're a little more atrophied outside of where the girth lies. Your weaknesses here. You're impulsive. Oh, we brought up the impulses. You're unstable, it says. Oh, and you're rebellious. There it is. There's Uranus coming into the mix. You oftentimes like to make a case that our strengths will help us overcome our weaknesses, but I also like to say sometimes our weaknesses can be strengths, all right? Now, how can impulsive and unstable and rebellious be a strength? Hey, you know what? Maybe there needs to be a situation where you need to fly off the handle. Maybe you got to intimidate somebody in the boardroom as the executive there to get them to maybe back out of the deal, all right? You don't want those folks buying up the company. So if they see the person at the head of it is off the chain, hey, they might be able to get out of it. I don't know. That's kind of a unique case, but hey, you know what? I'd say it's an apt argument, all right? I would also say your strengths are going to allow you to overcome some of your weaknesses. You're innovative. Hey, you're going to figure out the solution to your impulses, all right? How to identify them. Lively. You're going to do so with a little pep in your step, ostensibly, all right? Ambitious. You're going to get after it. You're going to take on the challenge of rectifying your weaknesses. Especially unstable. Hey, that's not a good look, right? But you know what? Sometimes rebellious is. Sometimes that captivates other people, right? So, hey, I mention all this because I often like to say, hey, despite your weaknesses being what they are, they're a part of you. So don't get rid of them lock, stock, all right? So keep them in there a little bit, all right? Get a little spice and variety of life if you like. That said, that's been your strengths and your weaknesses. Let's move on to those born on this day. When we get into those born on this day, I kind of like to take an opportunity to think about what they did and what they brought to the table and what got them in the book. Because a lot of times I meet folks out in the world, they don't know what to do with themselves. They got no sense of purpose. And here for you today in the book, they specifically mentioned as much. You got to have a life's purpose. I think that's because it makes it worthwhile, more fulfilling. So if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you're chasing after a life's purpose. You're getting value out of life. And maybe you don't have that so much, stuck in a dead-end job, haven't really put in the work to figure that out. Hey, maybe this can provide a little bit of inspiration, or maybe me just mentioning as much, get you thinking on that track. All right, so let's dive into those born on this day. We have Marguerite Duras, the French novelist, responsible for The Lover, also a screenwriter for Hiroshima Mon Amour, and a film director of India's Song, also a journalist and a TV interviewer. We have Muddy Waters, one of my favorite blues guitarists and blues singers, also a songwriter. We also have Anthony Perkins, film actor, Maya Angelou, a poet, writer, and responsible for works like Now Sheba Sings the Song and recited the inaugural poem for the Clinton presidency. We also have Arthur Murray, a dance instructor, Elmer Bernstein, a film composer, Hugh Masekela, a South African trumpeter. It also says a singer. We have Joanne Carner, a golfer, two-time U.S. Open champ, three-time LPGA Player of the Year. We also have Robert Downey Jr., film actor of Iron Man fame. We also have Anthony Tudor, a dancer, Gil Hodges, a Brooklyn Dodger baseball player, and he managed the Miracle Mets to the World Series victory. We also have Cloris Leachman, a film and TV actress, A. Bartlett Giamatti, a Yale president and a comparative literature writer and a baseball commissioner. We also have Emmett Williams, a poet and responsible for an innovator of concrete poetry. We also have Edward Hicks, a naive painter, it says. Pierre Monteau, it's French, I'm not too good with the French words, but a conductor. Pierre-Paul Proudhon, a French Napoleonic historical portrait painter. That's a mouthful. We also have Dorothy Dix, a prison reformer. Kitty Kelly, a writer of the unauthorized Sinatra biography by the title of His Way. And Chris Sizemore, a multiple personality disorder. It says multiple personality disorder and described in The Three Faces of Eve. All right, some pretty interesting individuals there, to be sure. I even knew a couple of them this time, interestingly enough, but I managed to mangle a few of the names, so let's make up for that on my side of things. It's not done in malice, it's just hooked on phonics, doesn't often work for me. All right, that said, that's essentially been your birthday breakdown, all right? Except to say your season is spring, your zodiac sign once again is Aries, of the Aries II period specifically, and your quality and elements is Cardinal Fire. And this has been Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elvers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up a copy. Let me tell you something. If you want to break the chains of your isolation, maybe throw a party or two, but hey, maybe it's kind of hard for you to socialize, get this book, break it out, throw it out there in the party, start reading people their birthdays. It's bound to break the ice and send people home going, that was crazy, that book. What an interesting party. Hey, let the book do the heavy lifting, all right? That said, that's the book. What's important around here, not the book, but being April 4th, it's somebody's birthday. So once again, if your birthday was April 4th, I just want to say happy birthday, all right? And for everybody else that joined us to celebrate, I just want to say thank you for your time, and I hope to see you on your birthday. All right. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Thank you again.